Welcome to episode 12 of No Shoulds Given with me, Sarah Lewis.
And me, Lisa Hardy.
This week, we are going to be talking all things mindset and why mindset is important, but it's not the silver bullet everyone hopes it to be.
So, what do you think women expect mindset to do for them? I
Well-
think that often women expect that changing their mindset will suddenly give them the confidence that they need to go and do the thing. Telling themselves they're confident, telling themselves they can do it, telling themselves all these affirmations and positive mantras is enough to give you the confidence that you need to change the way that you show up, which may work short term in the moment, but it doesn't stick.
No, they're definitely great techniques and tools to move in the right direction. But I think we have this misconception that if we can change the way we think, then it will create a really twinkly, idyllic life with the absence of problems, hardship, difficulties. It's a little bit like alignment, isn't it? That alignment comes and, you go like to the Wizard of Oz and all the bunnies and everything start talking to you and everything's really easy and you swim down the river with no problems whatsoever. But actually, those things still appear, but it's just that you are better equipped to deal with them. It doesn't eradicate them.
But I think from social media, it is shown so often that all you need to do is use affirmations, say the mantra, think differently, and everything will completely change for you. You know, your life will turn into this fairy tale and everything starts working out as and when. But it's not actually the case. There's so much more than just changing your mindset. Actually saying the affirmations isn't enough to rewire your brain.
No, we won't go into it now, but depending on the affirmation, it can actually work the opposite because our brains are evidence-based. So if you're saying something and your brain doesn't believe it true, it's going to find evidence to the opposite and you're like in this battle all the time. But I think this is going to be ironic. Mindset is not actually thinking, is it? The thought exposes what needs to be worked on and the why behind something, but it's that then how you act on that actually creates the change.
Yeah. And it's not just thought process, it's body, emotion, it's the whole thing. You can't change the way that you think through just, or changing your life through just thoughts alone.
No, it's like you say, it's all of those things, but it's also exposure, it's your environment, it's what you're tolerating, who you're around, what you're absorbing. Yeah, like you touched on social media, what you're taking in there as well. It's actually a much broader subject than just think differently.
Yeah. But changing your thoughts is the first step.
Yeah.
So, and that's why we're talking about mindset today, because this is the one step to changing the way that you think, believe, feel your life. It's just not something that you can do wholeheartedly on its own for those things to shift.
No, if you don't know what the thoughts are and where it's coming from and what they are ultimately doing, are they protecting you, then you can't change. So the surface level mindset work, the acknowledging of thought, etc., is the mirror. It's the gateway. It's the starting point, as you say.
So let's talk about embodiment versus intellect, you know, that thinking versus knowing. So have you ever said, I know that, but it didn't change anything? And a really good example of this is around boundaries. How often have we said, I know I need to put that boundary in place. I know I shouldn't put up with that behavior. I know I need to start saying no. And you knew it wasn't selfish. You knew that you weren't being out of order for thinking or saying it, but you still struggled to say the words and to implement how you were feeling in that situation. And this is a really good example where sometimes mindset work isn't enough because the mindset is, yes, I know, Yes, I've read all the books. I've got all the information. I know how to change the way I'm behaving or the way that I'm thinking. But so often your body is
Can't hold
still,
it.
yeah, it needs to catch up. It can't cope with that change, and that's when we hold on to that anxiety and we hold on to that worry. And it's not, we think that the worry and anxiety lives in the head, but it doesn't. It actually lives in the body. It's our nervous system. And you know that you can say no.
And you know that it's the right thing to do. When you
Yeah,
actually come to it, then your body floods with that's not safe. Remember when you did this before and it all went wrong, and like you can't speak up or you're going to upset them, and
that's it.
all
Yes,
of that or all of that and more in a split second floods in, and then you go, yeah, okay, I'll do that then.
yeah. And even if you haven't
And
accepted
as the words are coming
before,
out of your mouth, you start to be like, no,
yeah.
human.
But even if you haven't experienced those things that make you on edge, it's that first time you've ever said it.
Mm.
And so often it needs to be practiced, doesn't it? Because you think in your mind, right, now's the time to say no. I'm not going to say yes to my boss. I'm going to tell him that I don't have the capacity. And the situation arises and you go to say it, but it won't come out because your body's all tense and you're like, okay. And
Or
then we
like
beat
then you've got
ourselves
a
up for
massively
it.
blocked throat
Yeah.
chakra and
Yeah.
it feels like you're being
And then we
strangled.
start beating ourselves up for it. But again, this mindset work is about reminding ourselves, keep having those thoughts, reliving those situations and those think, like imagining the situation
Yeah.
and imagining you saying no. And it's kind of building that trust and that confidence within you before you're actually able to do it. Because as we say, it's not just here, it's here. But equally, we need to think quicker than we speak. So it all kind of needs to balance. It all needs to match.
Yeah. And there's a big difference, isn't there? Like you say, when you've started this, you are challenging your thoughts, you're building your confidence, you're speaking up, you've got that insight, you've intellectualized where you are.
Yeah.
Actually, the change comes from the action and the integration. I found this really difficult. I have to hold my hands up and say for a long time, particularly in the last 2.5 years, I really fell into the trap of intellectualizing and thinking that I could think my way through, and it getting very frustrating to the point where I was slipping back into that negative because it didn't feel like it was working. Like, what else have I got to do? What next? And actually, it's like many things just need to do. And I don't like to use that word just, but in my case, I'd spent a lot of time, it became my full-time job, my whole personality, to move forward from the situation I was in, address it fully so that it didn't come forward in its current form and leave its muddy footprints in this next chapter. But in doing so, I really lost sight of you need to act now.
So you were doing all the mindset work, but you weren't actually leading
I was doing
yourself
it all,
from it.
Lise. In the last 2.5 years, as you well know, I have tapped, I've had hypnosis, I have journaled, I've future self journaled, I've had meditation, I've gone to guided meditation, I've gone to sound baths, I've had IRT with you, which actually came at the end of this like clutching at every modality, which did really shift. Hypnosis in the early days and then IRT were the two biggest breakthroughs for me. Hypnosis allowed me to go back into the subconscious and find the story that I was running from.
To
And
give
it
you
was
that
very,
awareness.
very different from consciously what I would have told you.
Hmm.
If you'd have sat down with me at that time and said, why do you think, act, do things the way you do? The story and version of things I would have told you was black and white compared to what came out there. And then the IRT was able to shift the specific blocks that revealed. But even then, it was still on me to act.
Yeah, of course.
And then it goes back to that, who am I when I'm not who I was? Like, you're not going to know. You're not supposed to know. You
No,
need to create that person by
yeah.
acting differently, by
Actually, your
being
decision.
differently.
You remove those blocks, it's now your decision on who you want to
Hmm.
be. It's not who you already are are not. Like, you get to make that decision.
Yeah. And action is the thing. It's not what you're not who you say you are. You're what you do.
Yeah.
And you can make that decision, but to reinforce it, you have to do the do.
Yeah.
You
But
have to
remember
be the
also,
person that does that.
when we go back to the thoughts, so often people believe their thoughts, that they believe what they think is who they actually are. So those fears, those negative thoughts that are saying to you that you're not good enough, telling you that you can't do X, Y, and Z, telling you that you're stupid, you're thick, whatever it might be, isn't the truth. And so often those thoughts live in our subconscious. So when we're hearing them daily, constantly, on repeat, over and over and over again. And we have tens of thousands of thoughts every single day. And they're the same thoughts as you had yesterday. They're the same thoughts as you had the day before. They're the same thoughts you had a month ago, 5 months ago, 5 fucking years ago. That is how often we're repeating and saying the same shit to ourselves every single day without even being consciously aware,
Yeah,
because it
that
all lives in our
remuneration
subconscious.
and that
Yeah.
looping around.
But these thoughts that we're not even hearing properly, we do know they're there because we're acting on them.
Yeah.
So I'm stupid, I can't do that, so you don't do the thing. I don't believe in myself, I don't have enough knowledge. Whatever the thoughts might be that are preventing you from acting are dictating the way that you live your life and the way that you feel about yourself, the things that you believe about yourself. But those thoughts are not true. Those thoughts come from our past experiences, from conditioning. Could be from a bully, it could be from a teacher, it could be from your parents, and
It
they're not
also
even true.
it also comes from the story that you tell yourself as well.
Yeah, but the story comes from somewhere.
Yeah.
So we believe that these thoughts are true and this is who we are, and actually it's not true. But we have to become consciously aware to change the thought pattern. And in turn will change the way that we think and how we feel about it, and in turn will then change our reality.
Yeah, it's that integration that I think is where people start to really you think, right, I'm going to work on my mindset. You do all the things, and then, like you say, it works for a little while, but it's not really changing. And the reason it's not really changing is because you're still stuck in that thought loop, challenging the thoughts. You're not challenging the actions.
Deep into where these thoughts come from, because consciously on that surface level you believe that your thoughts or how you were behaving or acting were because of X, Y, and Z. But actually, when you allow yourself to go into the deepness, into the real subconscious of why we think the way that we do, why we behave the way that we do, where these beliefs come from, that's when we really get to shift. And you can do that without hypnotherapy.
Yeah, for me, it was the right thing. Like, now I use guided journaling to kind of get me there, the questions,
Yeah.
and then like go into flow on those questions and then understand it and unpick it from there. But for me at that time, it was a pretty desperate time. It was a big line in the sand moment. It was like a huge tower. We're talking about literally standing with nothing, having to rebuild my life, not I always think I'm a bit rubbish, so I'm going to hypnotize myself. I was really determined to never repeat that again. When we're stuck in that intellectualizing loop, and we're very much still in our head with it, I think then the solution can become the problem, and it can lead to self-betrayal, where you then start to talk yourself out of taking the action again. Kind of flips and then becomes the problem that's still stopping you from going forward.
And we can keep this really, really simple as examples. So, if you think to yourself now, to the listeners, have you ever used mindset to talk yourself out of leaving something, or out of doing something, or creating something, or stepping out of that comfort zone? We do it every single day, don't we? It's like with me, I've just put a post up on my social media, and I have talked about stepping away from stages. So I've been talking on stages for the last 2.5 years at different people's events. I've gone into Europe speaking, and I just feel like right now I need to step back. And I've really put myself out there and explained why. That felt scary. That felt like,
But did it feel like, because you've decided to turn inward a little bit more and honor yourself and the next stage and see that as a great foundation, but it's served its purpose. Stepping away when you talk about all the things you do, your confidence coach and speaking and everything, does bring you so much joy. Did it feel like I shouldn't be feeling this? Like, does it undermine the work I do?
Yeah.
Everything should be more positive for me because I am a coach that works in this field, and it kind of like minimize your experiences because everything that happens to you should be a positive experience because you speak on that. Was it that sort of
Yeah,
where it
I
came
think
from?
there's quite a few different factors to it but primarily it all comes down to the fact of what other people think, doesn't it, really, if we think about it? Like, if I show up and be honest that actually my experiences of talking on other people's stages have been quite negative, and not actually being on the stage, because I absolutely love it and I love talking and it fills me with so much excitement and joy. But the last year especially, haven't felt any of that. I've come off and I felt no excitement. I felt flat. And that's not how it should feel when you're on stage and you are empowering and helping women to fully show up as who they are, and helping women to do that, which is everything that I love and am passionate about. To suddenly come off these stages and feel really flat and think, this
It's been
isn't
quite
how it was.
hard to be close to you and watch that in the last like 6 months,
Yeah.
where you've been so excited to have that opportunity to speak. It's been really difficult to see you come away from there and be like, it's not doing what it should. Like,
And I don't.
not in an expectation way, but more of like, your talks are always amazing, and I'm sure people are in the room are getting what they need, but for you not to be served in the same way has been quite difficult
Yeah.
to see, particularly given like, you're away for a couple of days, the impact on the family, the boys, the things you're missing out on, the fact that you do work at the moment a few days a week in another role as well, the juggle.
What I've realised, I think, over this month is that I'm in the wrong rooms, and that's not disrespect to anybody to a certain extent when I think about my audience, but the people that I'm also in the rooms with, other business women, have not made my experience particularly nice. And I have been made to feel like I don't belong. I have been made to feel like I'm an outsider. And I am walking into rooms where I don't know people. I am being brave enough. I'm putting my big girl pants on and I'm cool with it. I'm happy to do it. But when I walk in that room and then you are met with, I don't want to even say frost to begin with, but fakeness of a high,
Oh,
and then it turns frosty and you are literally on your own for a whole day or a whole 2 days, that shit's fucking hard. It's really hard. But what I've come to realise is I kept thinking I just need to keep putting myself in these rooms. And the more rooms I keep going in, the same bloody people keep turning up. And the problem is they're all in their little cliques. So they all know one another. So they're probably not even looking at me thinking she's on her own. But it's not even about that.
a question that you need to ask yourself is, am I doing this for growth? If I am on more stages, is it going to be more comfortable? Am I going to get where I want to be? Is this going to feel how I want to feel? Or am I chasing those stages for approval to get that feeling of welcome that I didn't get before? And is
And
that
you're,
abandoning myself in the process?
and you're probably right, actually. Because where these people are in the same rooms, I'm like, that's okay. Because the more they see me, the more welcoming they'll be. And that didn't happen. And then it's like, okay, this is where the mindset thing is that, well, you can't stop being in those rooms, Lisa, because the more people see you, the more they get to know you and all that kind of thing. That's going to be great for business. It's going to be great for your visibility. It's going to be great for this, that, and the other. But what I found is I've ended up abandoning myself of how I feel, of my beliefs, my morals, because I have never been this person who's fake. What you see is what you get. That is it. Like, I can't fake this shit. And I have been in corporate jobs where everybody is up each other's asses so they get promoted, so they get the next opportunity. I have not been able to do that. It's not within me. I've thought about it. I physically can't make myself do it. And this is the
We
same in these
speak about this
rooms.
a lot. Do we cut our noses off to spite our face by not playing this game? Would
Yeah.
it be financially better for our businesses if we were those women in those rooms? But I think I'd rather chop my arm off because it's so detached from who I am that I have to stay true to that and accept that it may take me longer to get where I want to be, but it will be genuine.
See, for me, there's no thought process. It's just I can't physically do it. My body goes into complete like freeze mode. I can't move. I can't speak. I physically cannot do it. And so it's like it's not happening. It can't happen. And what's happened is what I've noticed and realised is that these other women are talking about women empowerment and being there and flying the flag, sorry, for all these women and, you know, doing this and doing that. And actually all it's about is being fake, being like smiling, telling them how wonderful they are. So they get another client, they've got more money. And as soon as that's through the door,
I'm slagging one.
that's it. Yeah, and that is not how I live my life. That is complete opposite of my morals and my integrity. I just can't be that way. And I would rather lose opportunity, lose visibility, and set up a room where I feel safe, where I feel happy. And long term, the women that come into my room feel exactly the same. And they're not met with this falseness and they're not met with thinking that they need to change or they need to convince themselves to show up in a different way so they're accepted. And ultimately what happens is you being accepted means handing over a fucking truckload of money that you will later regret. And maybe not, and hopefully they don't. But when it's not aligned and you're not in your own purpose and in the right energy, then you are spending this money. I've been there, people, many a times.
I have.
I'm spending the money to try and I can't think of the word,
Buy
alleviate my
it.
positioning, changing the way
Yeah.
that I feel, my energy, this constant saying of get in the right rooms with people who are bigger, better, and this, that, and the other. If their integrity isn't intact, then I don't give a fuck how much money you've got in the bank. You're not the person for me.
Yeah. It is it's one of those situations where it's like mind versus intuition, isn't it?
Mm.
Because your intuition is your radar is going off. You know the answer, but you're thinking the script of, well, this is how we grow. This is what we should be doing. And actually, it should just be a no. It's one of those no as a full sentence, isn't it?
It's avoiding those red flags again. I don't care if it's in a relationship, if it's in business, friendship, or being in the wrong rooms. Like, you keep seeing the red flags. You know it's not right. We convince ourselves that that's where we need to stay and that we just need to keep pushing through it and everything will work out. Or maybe I've just kind of misinterpreted that person, you know? Everybody else seems to absolutely love them. So maybe it's a me then and not a them thing.
Oh,
You know, we start shifting that blame on ourselves.
don't
Like,
go
what is wrong
there.
with me?
When these
Yeah.
people are hero worshipped, but you can
Yeah.
see through the fact that it's literally your relationship is based on what you can do for them, not who you
Yeah.
are. You could
Mhm.
probably hear from my voice. This is a big thing that really riles me up, and I could go on about it all day. But it is that, like you say, am I the only one? Everyone else likes them. Oh, I'll just try and be positive. I'll try and shape to fit. Everything is telling you no. Be honest with yourself. Trust that intuition. Lean into the fact that this is not what you want to be. And it's a lonely path at times. It's a
Really lonely.
difficult, lonely path to be really in tune with your intuition and integrity and values driven. Um,
And then,
but
as I say,
how many times have you been like, oh, fuck, I knew it was going to end up like that,
yeah,
and it ends up that way anyways. I'm very much now trying to train myself into the mindset of, are you going to pay for it now or later? Pull the plaster off now.
yeah, yeah,
Let's not go there,
yeah. And
We'll
it's not you. No matter
yeah.
how many times this happens, it's not you. You just haven't found the right room yet or the right people. And if we live by our morals every single day, then eventually the right people will show up. Yeah, and you start thinking it's you and there's something wrong with you. But genuinely, there's not. There really isn't. We just need to build our own table, sit at it patiently, keep being us, and everything will shift.
Build our own table, feed the right people, and
Yeah. And we'll just feast until they arrive.
yeah, overeat on our own. Let's talk about, in that self-betrayal piece, about toxic gratitude. When that gratitude and that I should be grateful for, let's stay on the rooms example, I should be grateful to be in that room in the first place, or should be grateful for the opportunity. It could be worse. That kind of,
Even under those circumstances, I'm still grateful for the opportunity. But that doesn't mean to say that it needs you to stay, because this is the problem with gratitude. And just be grateful for the situation, just be grateful for this. There's always something to be grateful in your day, and there is, but there is a huge part of this, which is that toxic positivity that keeps us stuck in situations we shouldn't be in, and we should be grateful for that, or we should be grateful for this. And in actual fact, no, I fucking shouldn't be grateful.
absolutely, yeah.
Let's think about the order of change. So, what happens when action is forced before safety? We've kind of covered that anyway, haven't we? And it's about having that awareness of our thoughts versus action, and why forcing, because of our thoughts, forcing yourself into those rooms, forcing yourself to stay in those friendships or that relationship, or forcing you to stay in that job, whatever it might be, very often backfires. And how actually, when we give ourselves that time to reflect and to think and to really deep dive into why we keep having these thoughts, what does it mean? How does it make me feel? What are the consequences of staying here versus leaving? It's almost like let's slow things down, and often that creates that faster movement. Yeah, because we're coming
Yeah,
from a different angle.
definitely. I think that's the thing, isn't it? When you force the action, when you try and change everything all at once, you find yourself in that mindset of, I need to fix and change my whole personality. Then that's when it doesn't stick. That's when it starts to be counterproductive. You feel further back than when you've started because you haven't slowed down, you haven't zoomed out, you haven't taken almost thought by thought, really, and broken it down. You've just taken that overriding that I'm not good enough, for
Yeah.
example. So then you think, right, I'm going to be good enough. But when you're not in a safe space and you're trying to be good enough, that then is that overgiving, no boundaries. And that becomes the toxic situation that you're actually trying to get out of.
The overproving.
Yeah, that needing validation, that if I become that great friend, if I'm the wife that has the food on the table, is bath run and never objects and does everything that he wants, then I'll be good enough.
And we'll
And
have the
that sort
perfect
of,
marriage.
yeah, that sort of action isn't coming from a safe place. Whereas when you think, right, the umbrella thought is like, I'm not good enough, but it shows up as I have to make sure I'm at work half an hour early. I have to make sure that the packed lunches and uniform and everything are done by 8 o'clock the night before. That is the thought to unpick. Where is that coming from? Oh, because then I will be bad. Blah, 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 blah. Unpick that. Start to reframe that with action. Then all of a sudden, that umbrella thought or behavior or whatever it might be starts to erode. And you're actually dealing with the problem by taking a step back and looking at the smaller.
Yeah. This is where we really get to shift our thoughts and our mindset for like long term
Absolutely.
rather than a short term fix for right now. And you can't say when you're thinking to yourself, I'm not good enough, you don't just start looking in the mirror saying, I am good enough, I
Yeah.
am good enough, I am good enough, I am good enough. And then all of a sudden you're going to feel good enough, because it doesn't work like that. Like you say, if we unpick and we go back, where does that thought come from? Where did that start? Why do I believe that I'm not good enough? then we're able to make the right decisions on what action to take next. So it actually embeds for long term change.
It is difficult. There is no right or wrong, and not everything needs fixing.
No, no, you're right. I used the word fix, didn't I? Didn't mean that.
No, no, no. I didn't mean it like that. I just
No.
mean I think it is easy to fall into the trap of one negative thought or one limiting belief or one sabotaging behavior can make you feel like everything needs fixing. You
Yeah.
completely need to change when you don't.
Or that you need fixing, that you're the problem.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're not.
Yeah. So, how about if we stop asking, how do I make this happen? And start asking, what would make this 10% easier to begin? How much easier does that feel when you wanting to take that leap, or you want to be able to say no, or you want to be able to stop feeling like you have to go out every single weekend, for example, with friends? Like, what can I do to make this situation easier?
Yeah. And it is very much like if you're not moving, you're probably trying to fix the end
Mm.
with a big we're really conditioned to think that this stuff is like a massive aha moment and a breakthrough, and if you do something big once then you're suddenly going to change, when actually in actual fact it's the smaller stepping stones, steps to where you want to be, instead of like trying to fix the whole thing. Just break it down into
Manageable steps,
small, and it
chunk size.
almost becomes like it can't be that simple. It's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Like I'm embarrassed to take that first step because it's so simple. Like, why am I even not doing it already?
But the problem is because we've been this way since forever, to change that feels huge. Because if I change that, what does that mean? Who do I become? What do I suddenly start thinking? And if that's been my programming for the last 35, 45 years, that's got to be a huge task. And it's not always dependent on the situation and the thought.
So, as we've mentioned, rather than standing in the mirror, chanting to yourself over and over all of these positive affirmations to force a change in belief, look for evidence. The brain loves to look for evidence. So, if you're in the mirror in the morning going, I'm confident, then the brain's going to go, shut up. No, you're not. This time you walked into that room and you choked. You always forget what you say on the podcast. What about when this happened and you weren't confident at all then? You just bottled it and ran off. Whereas if you say, when was I confident? Like, where's the evidence to support that? Then the brain will go out and it will find all the evidence and it will bring this back dutifully. And then you just prove to yourself that you are confident and that
And you
evidence
can.
build and you are capable, and then you will then take another piece of action that is added to the pile, and slowly over time, one thing at a time, then that grows and expands and you become confident.
Yeah. So another question you can ask yourself is that when you feel stuck, don't go to, oh, what's wrong with me? Go to, what is this protecting? Now, what do I mean by that? Is when we are avoiding something, we are essentially often protecting ourselves from something. So it could be protecting ourselves from rejection. So, or you might be overworking because you're protecting yourself from slowing down. Because what if I slow down? What does that mean? Well, if I slow down, that might mean that I have to actually sit with my own thoughts
Yeah, it's
or sit with
generally
my
an
own feelings.
avoidance.
Yeah, exactly.
I had a
Or
conversation about this um quite recently. Um regarding this kind of like pursuit for excellence, and they're incredibly driven. They operate at a really high level. Very, very successful, and it is all that they've known. But there is also an element with them that they're not really that happy, and they have what they've created. It doesn't feel like it should, and it's a kind of like coming from, well, that pursuit of excellence, what is that? Where is it coming from? And it's it's kind of like, if I'm out working, providing, achieving, then I don't have to sit with the fact that what I've created isn't actually what I want. So I'll go and achieve the next thing. And hopefully if I add that like shiny thing onto the pile, then the pile might get a bit more
Yeah.
appealing.
Essentially, it's like you don't want to look like a failure. If you decide not to continue doing the thing, what will people think? What if I decide to fold that business because it doesn't make me happy anymore? People think the reason why I did it was because it was unsuccessful, because I failed, instead of because it doesn't make me happy. Or maybe it's been a case of there was a huge expectation of you as a child. We're talking about careers here, that your parents really wanted you to do better for yourself. So you went into finance, or you went into medicine, or you went into law, so you've got these high, impactful, well paid positions, but actually all you want is peace, happiness.
Creativity and
Yeah.
joy and freedom and flow. Um, yeah, that comes up a lot, doesn't it? For um, that whole generational thing where parents had their job for 30 years or so, and success to them is one company, one job, one upward
Yeah.
trajectory in a sensible job. And then suddenly they're greeted with this kind of little bit wild, free, creative soul that actually isn't made for that world, but their fears of the unknown project onto them. So then they will be almost kind of ousted from acceptance if they then don't conform.
I think also though, where our parents' expectations come from, it's just a place of security, and they want more for their kids, and they want them to potentially have more than they had, or to have the same as what they had, or, like we all want our kids to grow up and not have financial issues, where they can keep a roof over their heads, eat every single week, where they're able to fly and enjoy life and have all these holidays. And we all want that for our kids, right? But quite often in the past, not so much now, because obviously generations are changing and we're all becoming much more aware of our upbringings and our feelings and our beliefs, and changing that in hope that we change that for our kids, that actually ultimately happiness is the main target's the wrong word.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Outcome of life.
Yeah, but being
You know,
happy,
be
content,
happy, and then the money follows.
those things have much more value now.
Mm.
I think my mindset was quite like that for a long time. It was like drive, drive, drive. You work hard. It's not meant to be enjoyable. That's why you get paid. And for a long time, in my mind, I attached that to shit. I have to work, work, work. And the more I earn, the more the sacrifice is going to be, and the more you have to give, and the more you're not going to enjoy it, and you're going to deal with arseholes. But that's okay because you get paid well. The truth before the reframe. So avoiding that kind of toxic gratitude of, oh, well, I should be grateful for this job, and carrying on and reframing it in that toxic way is sitting with that, and that this doesn't really feel right. I don't actually want this, or that behavior did hurt, rather than, oh no, it's fine. Because when
Mm.
we reframe it and we acknowledge it, and we don't even need to act on it necessarily all the time, because it might not be safe to, it might not be appropriate to, but in the first instance, just acknowledging how things are landing for you, before you go, oh, no, 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 it's fine, and dismissing it, and then having that internal conversation of, oh, don't worry about it, or they're going through a lot, they don't mean it. Like minimizing yourself, actually stopping and saying, that isn't fine, that did hurt,
Mm.
and acknowledging it to yourself first, then allows more integration to build that evidence bank, to build the trust, to know what to act on and what not to.
So yeah, we can ask ourselves, can't we? Who am I being whilst I pursue the changes that I desire, or that I'm looking for, or that actually I just feel like I need in my life. And I think this is really important when we stop looking outside of ourselves and start worrying about everybody else. What are they going to think about me? What are they going to think about that? And actually just ask yourself, how am I abandoning myself to get there? Or am I abandoning myself? Because while you're giving those thoughts outside of you, that's exactly what you're doing. You are performing again, you're over functioning, you're overthinking, you're worrying, you know, like at the end of the day, like Sarah said earlier, this process is simple, and we get to say, I don't want to feel like this anymore. I don't want to think like this anymore. I don't want to tell myself I'm stupid every single day. I want to make these changes because it will mean X, Y, and Z to me. And if we can lead from that place rather than from the negative side, and keep that self first thinking and emotions and belief as in the forefront of everything that we do, then everything gets to shift in a much more easier and simpler way. And it's not bloody selfish. If I hear that any more fucking times, I literally am going to scream. How is it selfish when we just trying to make our mental health healthier, cleaner, more comforting, more loving towards ourselves? How the fuck is that selfish? It's not. All we're doing is taking back that power within us instead of constantly giving it out because we're worrying about everybody else and what they're thinking. If I'm going to hurt someone's feelings, if they're going to judge me, you know, what do I need first? Do I believe this thought? And if I do believe it, but I don't want to anymore, how am I going to change that?
Yeah.
So we need to stop abandoning ourselves and putting ourselves in the driving seat.
It's that embracing that journey without wanting to sound like a complete and utter twat. Because I think we get fixated and we put pressure on ourselves because we think it's outcome based.
Yeah.
You know, you picked up on judgment there. If I do this, the purpose of this is for me to do something without judgment, right? And that doesn't exist. That's not there. So then you become in this little pressure cooker where you're trying to show up in a way confidently, blah, blah, blah. So, and everyone loves you, so no one judges you. Well, that's not physically possible.
No, doesn't exist. There's always going to be
Then you get a
somebody who's
bad
going to
comment on social media, or someone makes a snide comment in a meeting, or your partner, husband just says some flippant remark, and you think, well, I've done all this work. The point of this is I don't get judged. And then you turn it back on yourself and you put pressure on yourself. Oh, I must be failing. I can't be getting it right. No, the point is how you advocate for yourself in those situations, that
make
you
you feel
stop
about
that
yourself.
spiral, that you
Yeah.
don't flip it on yourself, that you get to a point where you go, well, that's a fucking you problem, not a me problem.
Yeah.
I'm carrying on. It's not going to eradicate those situations. And I think when we can get to that space, it takes a lot of pressure off and it is easier.
Definitely. I remember posting a photo of myself on Instagram, and some absolute moron commented on it saying that I was really ugly. Didn't take it down. I just fucking deleted it and blocked the bastard. It didn't offend me in the slightest, but obviously my mindset is my confidence is in a completely different place. But if you are somebody who does worry about how you look on social media or what people think of you, and you know, that could have the complete opposite effect and really, really damage your thoughts and the way that you feel about yourself. But his opinion doesn't change my life, and it won't change yours either. If somebody thinks you're ugly, brilliant. Not everybody in the world is going to fancy you. Maybe, don't know if you need a wake-up call here, girls, but that is the case. Not everybody's going to think you're beautiful, but somebody and people do. But do you know what? Even in that aspect, as long as you do, that's all that matters. That is all that matters. So, you know, mindset needs to become your support, not this constant pressure.
I'm curious about what people are kind of listening to this. I'm noticing about themselves, thinking, yeah, because I know for a fact that I've fallen into the trap that it's results based, and when you eradicate those external things, you're free. And I've also fallen into the trap of thinking that you almost have this epiphany where you wake up one morning, jump out of bed, and you're like, all my thoughts are fixed and everything is great. And it doesn't work like that. And I've also fallen into the trap of thinking I need to reinvent my whole personality in one go for things to change in my life. and my business and my relationships. And in actual fact, it's the really small stuff done in repetition. And yeah, quite often I do laugh at myself because tie myself up in knots about getting started or how successful it's been. And the biggest results that I've had have come from doing really simple, small things over and over.
And also, please remember that if you've been having these negative thoughts for 35, 40 years of your life, however long it is, it doesn't matter. You're not going to suddenly eradicate them in 2 weeks of trying to shift your mindset. Equally, if you do get to the point where it is successful and you're like, oh my God, I've not been having that repeating negative thought, it could be 2 months down the line, it could be a year down the line, it could be 2 years down the line. And all of a sudden, this thought creeps up again. And you're like, shit, because you're consciously aware and you've been doing the mindset shifts, it suddenly creeps up and you're like, well, shit, where the hell did that come from? But we can't beat ourselves up. We're not going backwards.
No,
There's nothing wrong with us.
it's
It's
not a one
just,
and done, is it either?
no, exactly.
These
And
things,
these thoughts are attached to memories, situations, experiences, and something completely outside of us might happen and it just triggers that memory that suddenly that thought comes back. And it's not because you've not done it well. It's not because you're not doing it properly. It's just part of life. So not
songs
to
do
beat
that to
yourself
me.
up,
Songs do that to me.
do they?
If I've not heard something for a
Yeah.
long time, you can just be playing in the background or come on the radio when you're driving and it's like,
Yeah.
what is that? But because there's some connection in the subconscious of an event with a song, and then it can be easy to think, why is that coming back up? Like, I haven't thought about them or that or blah, blah, blah for years. Am I broken
Yeah.
doing it? And it's just that stored, isn't it? But I do want to say, when we're talking about mindset and negative thoughts and negative beliefs, we mean in a self-protecting, self-aware way. If you are having negative thoughts or anything that is really affecting your ability to function on a daily basis, then
Your mental health.
yeah, and they are really having an effect on your overall mental health, that there is no break from them. Please, please reach out to someone way more qualified than us and get some specialist help. But equally, do talk to someone, and you can always talk to us.
Yeah.
Our inbox is both personally and on the No Shoulds Given page or our email. Get in contact with us because you're not on your own and we really do care about you. In next week's episode, we are going to deep dive into these actions a little bit more. So we have spoken about why we don't take up space, why we're not visible, the shifts in our mindset from now we're aware, looking at how that plays out. And then next week, we're going to dive more into the taking action and moving forward and finally rewriting that script.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, it should be a good one. Thank you very much, everyone, to listening. As always, we really, really appreciate your support. We love hearing from you. So let us know your thoughts and feedback. If there's anything that you would like us to cover specifically, then get in contact with us. It's at No Shoulds Given Pod on social media. It's No Shoulds Given Pod at gmail.com on email as well. I always want to add a the at the start of that, and there isn't one. But thank you for being here. Thanks, Lisa,
Thank
for
you.
this week, and we shall see you next week with action. Action. We're all about the action. Bye.
Take care.